even the best investments are hard to invest in. So even if you don't believe in Bitcoin and you don't understand cryptocurrency or the blockchain or anything like that, let's take some examples that nobody would argue with, which is the Magnificent Seven stocks, which are Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla, and Facebook. Those 7 stocks are called the Magnificent Seven. You can Google it or ask ChatGPT. Those are the best performing stocks on the stock market of the last decade or two. Okay, so you might think, okay, I don't need Bitcoin. I'm going to go invest in stocks. Well, you have multiple problems. One, what are you going to invest in? Because typically the things that have gone up the most in the past are not the things that are going to go up the most in the future. Also, back a decade or two ago, you had no way of knowing that those 7 stocks were going to be labeled the Magnificent Seven and outperform everything else. In order to make a ton of money investing in those, you had to invest in them when they were very risky, and people did not think they would become major forces of nature with incredible investment returns. But the other problem is, even if you knew that, even if you knew in advance, let's assume you are the world's best stock picker, which means you actually knew the Magnificent Seven stocks, what they were in advance. It still doesn't matter. They're still hard to invest in. And the reason is all of those were incredibly volatile on the way up. Huge price swings where they would lose half their value. Or in the case of Amazon at one point, 94% of their value. Or in the case of Nvidia, they lost 85% of their value twice. Like, each of these companies has gone through huge upswings and drawdowns that have made them painful to invest in. And anybody that tells anyone who made a bunch of money on any of these that they got lucky is just dumb. You didn't get lucky. You had to hold on through just an absolute whirlwind of pain with any of these stocks. So the reason I say that is all of the problems that people have with investing in Bitcoin about when do I invest and how much and what if it goes down, you have those same problems with every high-performing asset, which means either you can diversify, which is, diversification is good if you don't know which assets to hold, but your return is a lot lower, right? I mean, you might double your money over 10 years. But if that's not that much better than keeping up with inflation. Eats up 4 to 9% of your purchasing power every year. You're barely keeping up, or you're underwater if you're only doubling your money every 10 years. Next up, you have the same problems with Bitcoin, which is when do you invest and how much? And how do you know you're not investing right before a big downturn? So again, you can diversify, buy a basket of stocks or an exchange traded fund. But again, your investment return is a lot lower. You can dollar cost average, which means buy the same amount of that thing every week or every month or every day or whatever. But you have the same problem. On average, your investment returns are significantly less for dollar cost averaging as opposed to lump sum purchasing. So if you knew what the Magnificent Seven stocks were in advance, which the benefit of Bitcoin, we actually do know what it is in advance. If you knew that, then the best thing to do is buy as much of it as you can and hold on to it for as long as conceivably possible. The benefit of Bitcoin, unlike any of those other companies, is only about 5% of the world owns Bitcoin, and the 5% that owns Bitcoin owns a very small percent of their total portfolio, other than people like me who have 100% of my net worth in Bitcoin, other than, private company stocks that are not liquid and probably won't be in the near term. But those are just investments I've made over the years. But as far as liquid assets, meaning stocks, bonds, cash, all I have is Bitcoin. Literally, it's my only liquid asset. The only thing I can use to support my family, pay my bills, that's the only asset I own is Bitcoin. So, ultimately, you got to put up with the volatility and learn to live with it. Or you have to diversify and get a lot lower returns. And if you're trying to maximize your returns, then you got to find a winner and you've got to, bet big on it. And the only thing in the market I would ever do that on is Bitcoin, because every one of the other Magnificent Seven, none of them are at 5% worldwide adoption. None of them. Every one of them has significantly higher market adoption than that. Meaning there is a much bigger risk with any of the Magnificent Seven that you are investing much later in the stage. For example, I believe the majority of the world's population has a Facebook account. You cannot create Facebook accounts for people that do not exist, which means Google literally cannot double its number of users. There's not enough humans on the planet to double its number of users. Bitcoin can be used by all the humans, and only about 5% have any Bitcoin, and most of those have a tiny amount. Meaning, Bitcoin can double, triple, quadruple just by the people who currently own Bitcoin buying more, and that's less than 5% of the world. if the rest of the world gets on board and buys Bitcoin, the price could go infinitely higher. So all that to say, Bitcoin is a unique opportunity where you know what's going to win in advance, which means you can invest accordingly. You got to ride out the volatility, and it's not going to be easy because nothing is easy in investing unless, again, you are so diversified that your investment returns are relatively low. If you're so diversified that your investment returns are quite low, well then yeah, it's relatively stress-free, but you're also barely beating inflation or not even performing up to inflation, and you're actually losing money with time, which nobody wants to do. So anyway, investing in Bitcoin is hard, just like investing in anything that is high performing is hard, because they all have volatility, they all go up and down, they all stress people out. It's the nature of investing with high octane, high performance investments, of which I believe Bitcoin is the best one on planet Earth.